Math 8 students, what's up? So, the next step to the unit is estimating square roots. It's something I hinted at when we talked about knowing your perfect squares. Okay, like 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, and so on. Okay, this is estimating a square root that is not perfect. Okay, so we got 3 examples, each of them slightly different than the first, second, but overall not that bad, so let's get into it. Example 1, we are going to do the square root of 18. Okay, the first thing you want to do, you notice I kind of wrote on the side here, is make a list of your perfect squares. Okay, if you memorize them, that's what you're supposed to do, but if you don't, make a list. Just go through it. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, and so on. Just go through the list until you realize you need the next one. I just made it to 100, which is 10 squared for now, and that's it. So, first step, identify where the square root of 18 falls between. Okay, it falls between 16 and 25. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of make a range. If I told you to guess my age and I gave you a range, it would be easier if you narrowed the range down to actually guess my age. If I said a range of 20 to 50, that would be a lot more difficult than if I said 30 to 40. Okay, so 16, that was the smaller one, so we're going to put that on the left, and the 25 was the larger one, so we're going to put that on the right. Now, we created a number line here, okay? Technically, not actually a number line, but, so to speak, it's my smallest one, next one, and the largest one's on the right, okay? I know what 16 and 25 are, so I'm going to draw little arrows down. I'm going to put a 4, and I'm going to put a 5, okay? Now, keep in mind that this is level 2. So for level 2, all you have to do is get to one decimal place, something like 8.1, 2.3, and so on. Okay? So for now, we have this. In the middle of 4 and 5, well, let's just pretend we want halfway in the middle, because again, if you're estimating, you want to narrow that down as much. If I told you pick a number 1 through 10, and I said you had 2 guesses, your first guess should be 5. That way, if I say higher, you have some options. If I say lower, you have some options. If you guessed 2 and I said higher, well, now you got 3 all the way to 10 as options. Okay, so we can narrow it down. In the very middle of 4 and 5 is 4.5. Okay, so again, it's a number line 4, 4.5, 5. From there, we just have to do some math. 2 away here, so I'm just going to put a little 2 up there. From here, we have 7 away. Okay, since it's closer to my 16, that means my answer is going to be closer to 4 than it is to 5. So I'm going to draw an arrow. The square root of 18 has to be somewhere in here. Okay, it can't be less than 4 because the square root of 16 is 4. Okay, since we're saying it's closer to 4, it can't be more than 4.5. So we're just going to kind of put an X on that side. Okay, so we have this so far. From here, you need to make an estimate. Your best estimate will be to start with something in the middle of this. When we get to level 3, you'll see what reasons why if you guess 4.1, it's not as good, or if you guess 4.4, it's not as good. But all of my options here, we have 4.0 technically. We have 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5. Okay, those are all my options. A little crooked. Don't write on this little board too much, but these are all my options. You have to pick one of them. Obviously, don't pick 4 because 4 is 16, and don't pick 4.5. The reason I don't want you to pick 4.5, this number that you're estimating will never be exactly in the middle. So never pick the 0.5, ever. Don't ever pick it, and it's a bad guess to start with because when we get to level 3, if you pick something higher and the actual number is really close to 4, you're going to be guessing a bunch more. Again, that's level 3, so you don't have to worry about it yet. So from here, I'm just going to say it is something like 4.2, and that is your answer, 4.2. Problem solved. You could have guessed any of these ones. I'll put kind of like dotted circles around the other ones. Any of those, I would have accepted it. If you put 4 or 4.5, no. Any of those 4, I would accept it. 4.2 or 4.3, something you'll start with more often, just because there's somewhere more in the middle. Okay, but that's it. Problem solved. That's level 2. Okay, we're going to get on to example 2 now. All right, so example 2. We have the square root of 61. We're going to start with the same process. Find one smaller, find one larger. So if we look at our list, we have 49 and 64. Okay, so 49 is the smaller one. That's going to go on the left. And 64 is the larger one. That's going to go on the right. Okay, so we have that. Again, draw little arrows. 7 and 8. Okay, at any point you need to pause it, go ahead and pause it. Okay, and then again we ask ourselves, what's in the middle? Well, 7.5 is in the middle. And then from there we do the math part of it, where we see how far away it is from each side. Some of you will be able to tell without actually doing the math which side's closer to. It's perfectly fine. Okay, but from here we notice it's 12 away. Over here it's 3 away. Okay. One question you'll see me ask sometimes is, how closer is it? Is it a lot closer, or is it, look, well, it's kind of a lot closer to 64 than it is 49. So you're probably going to pick something that's a lot closer to 8 compared to 7. Okay, so again, our answer's going here, not here. Okay, I'm going to make a little mini number line again. We have 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9. Again, never pick 7.5. You don't need it. Okay, I didn't even write 8 down, but you're not going to pick 8. Okay, one thing people will make a mistake on is they'll say, oh, it's closer to 8, so they'll pick 8.1. Well, think about it. If the square root of 64 is 8, there's no way the square root of 61 can be higher than that. Okay, remember, this is a timeline, it's a range. We got to be within this range, so it needs to be less than that number. Okay, it always has to be less than that number. One thing to also note, whenever you're doing this, whatever number you have on the left, 7, that's where your answer is going to start with. My answer is going to start with 7 point something, whatever you pick. Now, since we said it's a lot closer, I would pick 7.8 or 7.9. Probably safer just to pick 7.8. And there's my answer. Okay, pause if you need to. Then we're getting into example 3. All right, example 3. So, square root of 82. Now, this one we're not going to do as much work on. You're going to kind of see what's common sense. But we look for our larger and smaller ones. So we have the square root of 64. And the square root of 81, actually not 64, what am I talking about? Square root of 81 and the square root of 100. Okay, so square root of 81, square root of 100. Then we pause for a second. This 82 is ridiculously closer to 81 than it is 100. Okay, if you did the math, it's 1 away here. This is 9 and 10, by the way. We knew that. It's 1 away here. Here it's 18 away. Okay, you don't need to think about it that much. This is ridiculously closer to 81, so therefore put it right next to 9. So 9.1. Problem solved. Okay, it's that simple. Whenever you get something this crazy, now, this also has to deal with large numbers. Okay, if we were doing the square root of 8, it's not going to be right next to 9 because there's smaller numbers, there's less numbers in the range of things. Okay, because if you think about it, to get from 82 to 100, I have 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, all the way to 100. To get from 4 to 9, I have 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, to get from 81 to 100, that's a lot more numbers than it is from 4 to 9. Okay, so it's larger numbers. For another example, we could say is like 122. Well, if we continue our list, we know that 11 squared is 121, so this probably is 11.1. Okay, pause if you need to. Alright, so that has to do it for today. There's going to be a practice along with this. This is one of the last things in the unit. Okay, you're going to have a review and an assessment. And I get, for those of you that have been expecting me in class, I've kind of been quarantined a little bit, a couple different situations, just trying to play it safe and wait for results and stuff like that. So I apologize for not being there, but hopefully I will be there soon. We do have a couple changes of how class is going to run coming next week, so be looking forward to kind of try that out and we'll see how it goes. Otherwise, stay safe out there, and I will see you next time.